Johnny Depp has played pirates. He has played monsters. He has played eccentric geniuses, mysterious killers, troubled dreamers, and characters who seem to exist somewhere between reality and fantasy.
But now,
he's becoming Ebenezer Scrooge. And at first glance, that might sound like the most unlikely role of his career. After all, Scrooge is one of literature's most recognizable characters. The name itself immediately creates an image. An old, bitter businessman. A man obsessed with money. A man who has forgotten how to love. A man who believes Christmas is nothing more than an inconvenience. But Johnny Depp's version appears to be taking that familiar character somewhere much darker. At Comic-Con, audiences were given their first major look at Depp as Scrooge. And the reaction was immediate. The transformation was almost unrecognizable. The hair, the makeup, the costume, the expression. Everything appeared designed to make Depp disappear inside the character. And that may be the first clue about what makes this project so interesting. Johnny Depp isn't simply playing Scrooge. He's transforming into him. For decades, this has been one of the defining features of Depp's acting. He rarely approaches a character by simply changing his clothes and delivering the dialogue. Instead, he builds an entire personality. The voice changes. The posture changes. The movement changes. Even the way the character looks at another person can change. Think about Captain Jack Sparrow. The character doesn't simply walk. He sways. He doesn't simply speak. He drags words through a strange rhythm. He doesn't simply react. He turns every moment into something unpredictable. Edward Scissorhands is completely different.
quiet,
Fragile.
almost childlike,
Then there's Sweeney Todd.
dark, cold, haunted.
3 characters. 3 completely different personalities. And now, Scrooge. But this version of Scrooge appears to have another layer. A darker one. Because Ebenezer isn't being presented as a simple feel-good Christmas story.
Five.
I beg your pardon.
Five.
I beg your pardon.
Flat. What is your name, sir? Jack.
There should be a captain.
Prove it.
Prove it.
Yeah, go on. God.
The film comes from director T. West, known for creating atmospheric and often unsettling films. That immediately changes the expectations. This isn't necessarily the warm, traditional version of A Christmas Carol that audiences may remember from childhood. Instead, the story appears to explore the darker side of Scrooge's world.
Fear, death,
Regret, isolation, and the supernatural, which makes Johnny Depp an especially interesting choice. Because some of his most memorable performances have involved characters who exist on the edge of darkness. Characters who are strange, broken, misunderstood, or completely disconnected from the world around them. And Scrooge is all of those things. At least, at the beginning of his story, he's a man who has isolated himself from everyone. He's rejected friendship, rejected compassion, and eventually, rejected his own humanity. That's what makes Scrooge more complicated than simply being an unpleasant old man. He's a character who has lost his way, and that gives an actor enormous room to explore. Johnny Depp has spent much of his career exploring characters who are outsiders, people who don't quite fit into the world around them. Scrooge may be one of the most famous outsiders he has ever played. But there's something else that makes this role important. Timing. Johnny Depp is entering a completely different phase of his career. After years of controversy and enormous public attention, he's gradually returning to major film projects. And rather than returning with the safest possible role, he's chosen Scrooge, a character that gives him another opportunity to transform completely. That's a very Johnny Depp choice. Because if Hollywood expected a conventional comeback, this isn't one. It's stranger, darker, and far more unpredictable. And perhaps that's exactly the point. Because Johnny Depp's career has never really been about doing what people expect. It's been about doing what interests him. And Scrooge may be his next great experiment. But to understand why this transformation could be so powerful, we need to look beyond the makeup. Because the real transformation isn't happening on Johnny Depp's face. It's happening underneath it. And that's where the story really begins. There is a reason certain actors seem to disappear into certain characters. It's not always about physical resemblance. Sometimes it's about personality. And Johnny Depp has spent his entire career being drawn toward characters who don't fit neatly into ordinary categories. That makes Ebenezer Scrooge an unexpectedly perfect choice. At the beginning of A Christmas Carol, Scrooge is an outsider. He doesn't want company. He doesn't want celebration. He doesn't want affection. He wants control. He wants money. And most importantly, he wants to be left alone. That sounds simple, but underneath it is something much more complicated. Scrooge isn't simply cruel. He's emotionally closed. There's a difference. A cruel person may enjoy causing pain. Scrooge seems to have built walls around himself. And those walls have become so strong that he can barely remember what existed before them. That's where Depp's acting style becomes particularly interesting. Throughout his career, he has often played characters who communicate as much through silence and physical behavior as through dialogue. Sometimes the smallest gesture tells you everything. A look, a pause, a change in posture, a strange smile, a moment of hesitation. These details can reveal what a character refuses to say. And Scrooge is a character who has a lot that he refuses to say. His bitterness is only the surface. Underneath it are memories, regret,
Fear.
loneliness, and eventually, the possibility of redemption. That's a huge emotional journey. And Johnny Depp has built a career around characters with complicated inner worlds. Consider Edward Scissorhands. He barely understands the world around him, yet audiences immediately understand his loneliness. Consider Jack Sparrow. He hides intelligence behind humor and chaos. Consider Sweeney Todd. His anger masks enormous emotional pain. Different characters, but a similar principle. What you see isn't necessarily what the character feels. And that is exactly what makes Scrooge so compelling. At first, we see the miser. Then, the ghosts force him to see the man he used to be, the man he became, and the man he could still become. That gives Depp the opportunity to perform several different versions of the same character. Young Scrooge, broken Scrooge, angry Scrooge, terrified Scrooge, and, eventually, a transformed Scrooge. That's not one performance. It's almost several performances inside one character. And for an actor known for transformation, that is an extraordinary challenge. But there's another reason this role fits Depp. His fascination with unconventional characters has never disappeared. Even when offered opportunities to play conventional leading men, he repeatedly gravitated toward the unusual, the strange, the theatrical, the unpredictable. Scrooge is arguably all three. He's larger than life. He's visually distinctive. And his journey takes him into a supernatural world. That combination creates the perfect environment for Depp's style. And then there's the visual transformation. Because before audiences even hear Scrooge speak, they see him. The makeup creates an older, more haunted appearance. The costume reinforces his status and personality. His posture becomes more rigid. His face carries years of bitterness. The goal isn't simply to make Johnny Depp look old. It's to make him look like someone who has spent decades carrying emotional weight. That's a much more difficult transformation. And it raises an important question. When audiences see Depp on screen, will they still see Johnny Depp? Or will they see Ebenezer Scrooge? If the early reveal is any indication, Depp may be aiming for the second. And that's what makes this performance worth watching. Because the most impressive transformation isn't when an actor looks completely different. It's when you stop thinking about the actor at all. For generations, A Christmas Carol has been adapted again and again. There have been comedies, animated versions, family films, musicals, television specials, and countless stage productions. The basic story remains familiar. A bitter old man is visited by supernatural figures who force him to confront his past, present, and future. Eventually, he changes. It's a story about redemption. But beneath that familiar message, there has always been something dark. Think about it. A ghost appears in the middle of the night. A dead business partner returns from beyond the grave. A mysterious spirit reveals terrifying visions. Scrooge sees his own future death. He sees people celebrating his disappearance. He sees a grave with his own name on it. That's not exactly a cheerful story. It's a ghost story. And T. West's involvement suggests that Ebenezer may embrace that darker side. West has developed a reputation for atmospheric filmmaking. He understands tension. He understands silence. And he understands how to make familiar environments feel unsettling. Put that style together with Johnny Depp, and Scrooge suddenly becomes something very different. Imagine the streets of Victorian London at night. Fog covering the ground. Empty streets. Flickering lights. A distant sound. And somewhere in the darkness, a figure approaching. Scrooge. Not simply as a miser, but as a man haunted by everything he has tried to forget. That atmosphere could completely change the way audiences experience the story. Instead of asking only, will Scrooge learn to love Christmas? The film can ask something much deeper. What happens when a person is finally forced to confront himself? That's where horror and psychological drama can become powerful. Because the ghosts aren't frightening simply because they're supernatural. They're frightening because they reveal truths Scrooge doesn't want to see. The past shows him what he lost. The present shows him what his behavior is doing to others. And the future shows him where his choices could lead. The ghosts are essentially mirrors. And Scrooge is forced to look. That gives Johnny Depp an enormous emotional range to explore.
Fear.
Denial. Anger. Confusion. Desperation. And finally, hope. A role like this doesn't depend entirely on action. It depends on emotional transformation. And that's something Depp has demonstrated throughout his career. His best performances often involve characters who carry hidden pain beneath exaggerated personalities. Scrooge gives him an opportunity to take that idea even further. At the beginning, the character may seem almost grotesque. His appearance reflects his personality. Cold, rigid, unwelcoming. But as the story progresses, the audience should gradually see the person underneath. And if Depp succeeds, the transformation at the end won't simply be visual. It will be emotional. The audience will believe that this is a man who has genuinely changed. And that may be the most difficult part of playing Scrooge. Because redemption is easy to describe. It's much harder to make audiences believe it. Johnny Depp already has an enormous collection of unforgettable characters. Captain Jack Sparrow, Edward Scissorhands, Willy Wonka,
Sweeney Todd,
the Mad Hatter, John Dillinger, and many others. So where does Scrooge fit? That's the fascinating question. Because Scrooge is different from most of those characters. Jack Sparrow is larger than life. Edward is innocent. Sweeney Todd is consumed by revenge. Willy Wonka is mysterious and eccentric. Scrooge begins as something much more grounded. He's simply a human being who has lost his way. And perhaps that makes him one of Depp's most emotionally demanding characters. The challenge isn't just to make Scrooge interesting. It's to make audiences understand him. To show how someone becomes this bitter. How someone who once had dreams, friendships, and love can eventually become completely isolated. That's where the performance could become powerful. Because if the audience understands Scrooge's pain, his transformation becomes meaningful. We're not simply watching a bad man become good. We're watching a broken man realize that he still has time to change. And that message is timeless. It's one of the reasons Dickens' story has survived for generations.
People change.
People make mistakes. People become lost. But redemption remains possible. And Johnny Depp has always been interested in characters who exist somewhere between good and bad. His characters are rarely completely straightforward. They're complicated, sometimes contradictory, sometimes difficult to understand. But that's what makes them memorable. Scrooge has that same complexity. And if Depp brings his signature approach to the character, we may see something very different from previous versions. Not simply an old miser, not simply a Christmas character, but a deeply troubled man confronting the consequences of his own choices. That's potentially what could make Ebenezer important for Depp's career. It gives him an opportunity to demonstrate something audiences may not have seen from him in exactly this way for a long time. Not just transformation, but emotional maturity. The ability to carry an entire story around one character's internal journey. And perhaps that's why the timing matters. Johnny Depp doesn't need another role simply to prove that he can act. He already has decades of performances demonstrating that. What he needs is a role that feels meaningful, a role that allows him to explore something new. And Scrooge may provide exactly that. There is something symbolic about Johnny Depp playing Ebenezer Scrooge in this stage of his career. Scrooge is a man who reaches a point where his old life no longer works. He has money, he has status, he has control, but he doesn't have happiness. And eventually, he realizes that everything he thought mattered has left him empty. That makes the story surprisingly relevant to the idea of reinvention, because Johnny Depp's own career has gone through enormous changes. He's been one of Hollywood's biggest stars. He's experienced incredible success. He's faced periods of uncertainty. He's worked in music. He's explored visual art. And now he's returning to major cinema. But he's doing it differently. He's not trying to recreate the exact Hollywood career he had 20 years ago. He's entering another phase. And perhaps that's what makes 2026 so interesting. Johnny Depp is no longer trying to prove that he can become a star. He already became one.
Now,
the question is what kind of artist he wants to be. And Scrooge is a character about exactly that kind of question.
who are you?
What have you become? And what could you still become? Those questions make this role more than another film. They make it an opportunity for Depp to show audiences something beyond the eccentric characters they've already seen. Something more human, more vulnerable, more emotionally complex. And if the film succeeds, Scrooge could become another defining chapter in his career. Not because he's the strangest character Johnny Depp has ever played, but because he may be one of the most emotionally relatable. Everyone understands regret. Everyone understands mistakes. Everyone understands the feeling of looking back and wondering what could have been different. That's what makes Scrooge timeless. And that's what could make Depp's version special. Johnny Depp has spent his career transforming. Different faces, different voices, different personalities, different worlds. But perhaps the most interesting transformation isn't the one we see in the trailer. It's the transformation happening in Johnny Depp's career itself. In 2026, he's entering another chapter. Cinema, music,
Art.
and now, Ebenezer Scrooge. A character created more than a century ago, but still capable of telling a story that feels surprisingly modern. A story about isolation, regret,
Change.
and second chances. That's why this role could matter. Because Johnny Depp isn't simply playing a famous literary character. He's playing a man whose entire identity is challenged. A man forced to confront the person he became. And ultimately, a man given the opportunity to become someone else. For an actor whose career has always been defined by transformation, that feels almost perfect. Maybe Scrooge won't become Johnny Depp's next Captain Jack Sparrow. Maybe it won't become his next Edward Scissorhands. It doesn't have to, because the goal isn't to recreate the past. The goal is to create something new. And if Depp can make audiences forget the actor, forget the celebrity, forget everything they thought they knew, and simply see Ebenezer Scrooge, then this could become one of the most fascinating performances of his career. The first look has already created curiosity. The trailer has given audiences a glimpse, and the full transformation is still waiting to be revealed. So now, the question isn't whether Johnny Depp can play Scrooge. We already know he can transform. The real question is, what kind of Scrooge will Johnny Depp create? A terrifying one? A tragic one? A mysterious one? Or perhaps a version audiences have never seen before? Whatever happens, one thing is certain. Johnny Depp's journey isn't over. And Ebenezer Scrooge may be the beginning of his next unexpected chapter. Because sometimes the most powerful transformation isn't becoming someone completely different. It's finally discovering who you were meant to become.